market will start momentarily, and we're very excited to connect with you guys as we inch closer and closer to some holiday festivities and the new year, 2023, right around the corner. It is, wow, December 12th. So 19 days to the new year. That's getting pretty close here. Give the show a like and a share anywhere you guys are watching. We have two fantastic real estate superstars in the house today. Anna Antigua is going to join us. I believe this is, Anna, your second rodeo on the I Love CVille network. Is that right? Third.
Yeah.
Your third rodeo. Man, you're a pro. This is going to be easy peasy for you. And Nikki Chambliss is a Hall of Famer. She is on this network routinely and always makes the program better. We are here to take your questions and answer some comments, share in your perspective, commiserate, delight, commemorate, whatever you would like to do today. We're here for you. We're the digital and social and virtual shoulder or real estate therapists, if you may. I feel like that's kind of what we are.
Definitely. I think so.
Right?
Yeah. Not putting that on my email signature or anything, but yeah, you're not wrong.
We listen. We listen to learn, and we listen to offer perspective and advice. And Anna's going to bring sounding board. Absolutely. Anna's going to bring some perspective to the show that I think is very valued in this community. So please give the show a like and a share anywhere you are watching. We are live literally on every social media platform, including 15 Facebook pages, 15 Twitter accounts, LinkedIn, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Fountain, Instagram. I'm losing count. We keep adding these platforms, which is fantastic, Judah. Judah Wickhauer is our director. We always give him some props. I try to do it early in the show just so we don't forget, because sound and visual and audio is paramount for any production.
Incredibly so.
You know that.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, and we gig without a sound guy, so I do know that.
Yeah. We're the on-air talent is at the mercy of audio and visual. And Judah, you're one of the best. Thank you. We will rock and roll, my friend, when you are ready, sir. Guys, good Monday morning. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. A pleasure to connect with you guys through the I Love CVille network. Today's show presented by Keller Williams Alliance. Folks, you can absolutely count upon Keller Williams Alliance. You're about to meet two on this gorgeous Monday morning, just 19 days before New Year's. Can you believe that? 19 days and counting until 2023. Judah Wickhauer is our fabulous director. Occasionally you'll see Judah Wickhauer popping his head in out and offering valuable perspective. Today we have two fantastic real estate superstars in Nikki Chambliss, a team leader at Keller Williams Alliance, and Anna Antigua, just a phenomenal realtor in her own right. Judah, if we can go to the studio camera and welcome the superstars to the program. Ladies, good Monday morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
A show you have helped set up yet again on a fabulous Monday, Nikki.
I love doing it. I love being able to work and learn from Keith. It's pretty amazing. Definitely not something that had you told me a year. Well, no, just kidding. I've been doing this for more than a year now. Wow. So a year and a half ago, if you had told me this, that I would be doing this on a regular basis, I'd been like, get out of here. So, and now I can't imagine not doing it.
You shine.
Yeah, thank you. This is, truly because of the people that are around me that are amazing. And Anna is one of those, so I'm really thrilled. She actually stepped in. We had a guest who couldn't make it today, and when I reached out, she was like, yeah, I think I can do that. So, which is amazing because I really wanted to have her and some other people as guests, especially regarding some of the local happenings in the real estate community going on. So now we just get her early, and we'll have another show with her in the future. So
fantastic!
Exciting.
Your third rodeo.
This is my third rodeo.
That's fantastic. So Anna Antigua, introduce yourself to everybody that's watching the program.
Hi, my name is Anna Antigua. I am now with Keller Williams since November 18th. So excited. I am Dominican and Puerto Rican. I'd like to plug that in. I am a bilingual realtor here in the Charlottesville area.
Fantastic. So tell us about what you love about real estate, your experience, how long you've been doing it, what are your favorite aspects of this career?
I really love, and the reason that I primarily decided to become a realtor is helping. I knew that I wanted to help people, and that initial experience working with Candace as an admin, her encouraging me to go ahead and help her, and just seeing people that had challenges to be able to become homeowners and achieve that, it's just the greatest feeling. It's like watching your little one open a gift on Christmas. So
That is absolutely awesome. And a fantastic team to be a part of, Nikki Chamis, Keller Williams Alliance.
I think so, or I wouldn't be there. I'm just saying.
You guys do a great job of serving this community. Your niche, a valued one, the Hispanic community. Put in perspective what many experts and economists have called the most focused upon emerging market in real estate, Hispanic home buyers and sellers. Give us a snapshot of what's going on.
Well, according to the data and what they're talking about out there, it's definitely been increasing. So they're saying that it went up 48.4% of Hispanic homeowners since 2000s has been a big leap. And that they foresee that in 2040 that it's just going to skyrocket. I am seeing that right now where I work. Specifically, they're coming, like you said, for my niche, and having more professionals in our area to be able to help that, I think is one of the things that are fueling it, for sure.
Talk to us, and then we'll weave Nikki in here. Talk to us about the emergence of this demographic. What do you attribute the boom in Hispanic buyers and sellers to?
Well, I think it goes back to, for example, who I am. My family, my dad is Puerto Rican, my mom is Dominican, and they originally lived on the island, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and my dad joined the Army, and now I am that generation that lives here. I think there's many of us rising in the right position to be just like you guys, whereas they didn't have that same opportunity before. Now we're just, we're that, what's that? The ripple effect. So we're here, and so we are now able to be in the right positions of homeownership where a lot of Hispanics before were not. So I think it comes from that.
Fantastic.
Well, and so I'm curious because I feel like you mentioned that growing part of our population, right, that are working into home ownership, because in our history, the majority of home ownership has been a very certain specific area, group of population, demographics. When you're talking about have not had that opportunity before, can you tell me more about that? Like your parents' generation, and a lot of times families who have come to the U.S. for the purpose of exactly what we're talking about, right? The American dream, whatever the version is of that.
I think that there is a gap or a disconnect, or just a different culture in our countries and the countries I've been able to visit. The perspective on money is different, and people don't want to have debt, and they want to save, themselves. So they get away from credit, and they just focus on being able to own themselves. And so the concept in those countries is usually like, I save up money, I own my land, I build my own stuff. And so if you translate that here, that's not how it happens out here. And if you come with just that concept, it's a little bit more difficult. So I think the fact that we now come and we go to elementary, middle school, high school, we go into college, we are completely submerged into a different culture and a different way of thinking. And so we adapt to, for example, what you guys also believe, and we're different than that generation, and so that makes it different for us than for them. In the idea that they want to get away from whatever loan, whatever those tools are, and they want to just do it on their own. And I think it's awesome though, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more because I think, like you mentioned earlier on the show, it brings perspective for sure.
A lot of people don't realize this.
No, not at all.
But mi madre es cubana.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
my
did not know.
mom and
I
Mima and
what you said,
Papi,
yes.
born in Cuba. And when Mima and Papi said to my mom, who was in the 3rd grade, we're going to leave Cuba, and we're going to go from a country we've always known to Miami, Florida, right before Castro took over. And communist regimes quickly followed. Mima and Papi and my mom went from an upper middle class life to Papi being a ditch digger and Mima being a hotel maid.
Oh, wow.
And my mom being put in an English speaking school when she was in 3rd grade. And my dad eventually met my mom in Florida as she went to, from 3rd grade on to community college. Then she ended up managing a bank. My dad's American, hence Miller. They married after 3 weeks. You'll appreciate this. Their 3 weeks of dating before he proposed to her consisted of no dates alone. All chaperone dates.
For sure.
Literally every single one was chaperone. They remember their first kiss with somebody in, I think it was my aunt, my great aunt, watching them kiss for the first time.
That's funny.
But to your point, I watched this because when my parents, my dad and my mom, when my brother and I were growing up, my dad and my mom were growing an accounting business. So Mima and Papi raised my brother and I. And they were so vehemently opposed to debt.
Yes.
And they had a house that I remember they paid $10,000 for on a tiny piece of land in Naples, Florida.
Wow.
And they had an opportunity, everything was paid off, but Papi never wanted to buy a bigger house or take on more debt.
Yep.
Because he remembered that time of coming from Cuba to America where they were literally, forget paycheck to paycheck, it was like meal to meal. Like they weren't even sure where like their next breakfast was going to come from.
Right.
So that's to your point. And then my mom, when she married my dad, then that next generation understood the concept of good debt, managing debt to equity,
Exactly.
and building wealth
Right.
through real estate, which is what you're highlighting here.
Right. Correct.
Talk to us about how that generational education happens. Is it just from watching the parents firsthand doing this? Is it the education from college and from schooling? Is it from School of Hard Knocks, like learning professionally?
I think it's a mix of a little bit of everything that you're saying. For me specifically, my dad coming and being part of the military and coming from Puerto Rico and learning everything, how to invest his money and how to make wealth. He kind of passed on some of those concepts to me, and then a lot of what I learned was, from college. And but I think another part of that as well is a little bit of the hard knocks that you're talking about, and having real estate professionals do that educating. And that's why I think NARUP is so important, because we kind of stand in that gap, and whatever education that is missing, we are able to voice that and echo that, so that certain mistakes or certain habits aren't being continued on, and they can have a better understanding of why these tools and why debt is okay to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lee Elberson is giving you some props on the program right now, and he says it's so great to see experts from KWA share their knowledge on the program. Multiple folks are asking about the acronym you just used.
Okay.
If you could highlight that acronym.
Yeah, the National Association of Real Estate. National Association of Real Estate Hispanic.
Yep. National
Sorry,
Association of
look at
Hispanic
it.
Real Estate Professionals.
Thank you.
Only because I've been practicing
National
saying this, 'cause I
Association
keep bringing it up.
of Real Estate Hispanic.
Hispanic first. Yep. NAHRE. Now I lost it. P, right? NARUP?
Yes.
Got
Okay.
it.
So we
Yes.
are Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, and it's a national association. They focus on advancing home ownership in the United States, and they do it through empowering and educating real estate professionals.
Fantastic.
It's amazing. Yeah, so I didn't know anything about this. I had a coffee with Anna, and we were talking about all sorts of things. One of my big things is about education in the real estate community. That's kind of a shtick for me. It's really important to me. And I'm trying to provide it for not only my agents, but however broad a population I can. And so we were talking about that, and she was like, hey, did you know there's this thing at CAR NAREP, and I'm like, what is that? She told me, I was like, oh, that sounds like a thing I would be interested in.
Yeah.
So I was able to last minute attend this. It was an amazing function.
Yeah.
It was the first of many to come.
Yeah.
And what were we trying to do? This was
We
the
did-
foundation building
Yeah, we did
event, right?
Yes, we did an event to let everybody know what NAREP would bring to the Central Virginia area, and it was awesome. So many people showed up. So thank you so much for your support.
Absolutely.
We are so close, and we hope to have everything launched by 2023. But the goal of this is not only to educate buyers and sellers, but also to educate other real estate professionals, because you don't know how many times I'm talking on the phone and I have to deal with this because people are coming to me for help, but other real estate professionals don't get to have the conversations that I get to. So those terms that I have to use a lot and exchange a lot. Sometimes on the phone, they're like, "What are you talking about? Non-qualified mortgage, tax ID."
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have time to sit down and explain everything right now. So that's why we need NAREP to be able to educate all of us, not only just buyers and sellers.
Well, you touched on this earlier, and it's funny because I think I had seen this, but when we were sitting down to talk, I shared, I was like, hey, I don't know if I'm 100% accurate, but by some year, I think it was 2040 maybe,
yeah.
30% of our first-time home buyers will be Spanish speaking?
So
that's the projected, is that right?
70%. 70% of first-time home buyers will be
Oh,
Hispanic.
really? So maybe 30% of all then? I was
Yeah.
like, that's
Yeah.
in there somewhere.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Which is a very large percentage of our population.
Massive.
And when we're talking about a bi or tri or more than lingual community, because you've got a community that not only speaks Spanish and English, but sometimes have other languages as well, right?
Right.
Depending on where you're from and what your background is. Coming in and being able to speak in things, especially depending on how far removed you are from if your original language is Spanish, being able to speak about things like real estate and any legal aspect and contracts in your language. Again, if you're a first generation and Spanish is your first language or your main language, then being able to speak about that in Spanish is really, really important. So like for me, if I was like, oh, let me just go on Duolingo and let me pick up some Spanish. I took it in high school. Let me see if I can help this person out. That's a big no.
Right.
That's nope. That's not the way. That's not serving the community or clients or anybody really well. Also, I've never dealt with a TIN situation with lending or receiving an offer or making an offer. So if I were a listing agent and I received a whole package that was like, oh, I've never seen this before, and especially if it were a year ago and everything's hectic and crazy, taking time to really educate myself and know more about it and have a conversation when you're also in that same intense market would have been really challenging.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
being able to serve that area of the population, whether it's Spanish speaking or not, because the TIN program doesn't just impact Spanish speaking communities
Right.
and families and people, right?
Yes.
So there's a whole group of population in our community that are impacted by this.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to have everybody involved because, for example, UVA Credit Union, which now they offer a program. It's awesome. It has made so much of a change when I'm presenting offers because usually I'm coming with other lenders and they're like, why are you coming with a lender from out of the area? I'm like, well, number one, we don't have anybody who can speak Spanish, and number two, this is the program that they offer them. I don't have anything locally. So bringing that awareness and having these conversations locally is definitely helpful. And I have seen in the past year so much change. So much positive change, especially for this community.
That's wonderful.
Let me throw this to you. I feel, if you put, I grew up speaking Spanish. Like I said, Mima and Papi raised us as my parents were launching their business and growing it. And like riding a bicycle, you spend a couple days and it comes back to you naturally. You're obviously bilingual, but there's one thing to be able to communicate with somebody like around the community, and it's another thing to speak like contract jargon
Right.
and the language that comes up in negotiation and buying and selling a house. When did you feel comfortable managing that aspect of the language? Because that's a different level of language sophistication. Is that fair to say?
No, that's fair. It's fair. I think that that's where like having a good team is important. But I started off with First Dominion, and I had amazing support from Remax Realty Specialists. And I feel comfortable enough. If I understand the concept, and if I don't understand it, I'll ask again. It's important to ask questions. So I think now a lot more comfortable about all of what I needed to convey to my clients. But at the beginning, it's just it's going to be a learning curve, and just asking questions and making sure you have that good team backing you up,
Yeah.
I would say.
Can I bring
Yeah.
up a thing we
Yeah.
talked about at coffee?
Yeah.
So because I was like, oh, this is interesting because what is most of your work in real estate? It's all in Spanish, right?
Spanish, yeah.
So most of her work that she does is in Spanish.
Yeah.
So really, for you, it takes more work to actually do the real estate work in English
Right.
than in Spanish.
Yeah, I was sharing with her.
Yeah.
I'm like, all of my conversations are in Spanish now. So I started doing like these videos and translating from Spanish to English for myself, like, transcript. But I'm just used to now just completely talking in Spanish. With most of my clients are coming to me with those specific needs.
That's amazing.
Which is great, and it's a huge value add to our community. And
Tremendous
like,
asset for Keller Williams.
Oh, for everybody, and yes, absolutely. But for so many reasons, because she's also very passionate about helping. Period, and being able to do this, I'm honored to know her.
How is affordability, real estate affordability in Central Virginia viewed by your peers in the Hispanic community?
I like this subject. I think that I get to sit in a very special chair because I get to help the bilingual community in different shoes. Because you have bilingual people or Spanish-speaking people like me, who I was born in Puerto Rico. I don't have certain obstacles that other people may have that need an ITIN program. So I get to see two perspectives on money. So when the interest rates went up completely, like this side that we'll call me, like the me side, who is used to seeing these low interest rates, now the interest rate shot up, I'm scared, right? But I have my other side who are many families who need to save. They're used to seeing high interest rates all the time because they're using non-traditional.
Because they don't have credit.
They don't have credit, but there's also the tax ID aspect of the whole thing. So they have to have 20% down. They always had to save. They always had to look at higher interest rates at 7, 8, 9. They always did. So when we come into this new market, for them, it's not a shock. And they're actually in the competitive time, they were in a better position because most of the time they had 20%, 30%, 40% down payment. So they're in a better, competing stance. And now even more when that, the me side has like backed up, no, all these interest rates are way too high. All my other clients are having a better chance to actually, one, plan and be able to choose. And they're not worried about, interest rates. And actually pleasantly surprised because they have dropped a little bit recently.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean,
so
that's
they're
awesome.
actually in a better, their interest rates are now better than
Yes.
for the group that has the TIN. And what was the type of lending that you mentioned?
It's called tax ID lending, or the
is there-
non-QM.
Yes,
non
qualified mortgage? Is that
non-qualified
right?
mortgage.
Okay, yeah.
So affordability, I think, obviously for some people might still be a challenge. That's still something real. But for the clients that I help and the perspective they have to take on, they're like, well, we have to save money anyways. This is always going to be our interest rate. It just puts you in a different seat and a different perspective. And I was talking to Nikki, I was like, they're taking different initiatives on saving. So they're helping each other and living together to save money. They maybe go like, okay, you buy your house first and we'll help you. And now when it's our turn, we'll help you. They have different ways of handling challenges. And they look at it,
Yeah.
I think it's important to know and have the knowledge of how valuable investment is, like how important it is for me to be a homeowner. For them, that's high priority. And so, I don't know, they push through it and they really have the information that they need, not being in a difficult situation. I always tell them, I'm not going to be living with you guys for 30 years, so you need to be sure that your monthly payment is good. If it's not good, then we need to wait, So I see it with positive outlook of what I actually get to sit in and see. And yes, that affordability challenge is still there, but I get to see the other side of it, and I'm like, wow, like, you know, life is not that bad. Yeah.
Well, and it's amazing because your majority of your clients are actually this time right now, they're thriving in a way that I feel like the much easier times for a larger, broader part of the population has created
Roadblocks.
a softness.
Yeah.
That's just not, it's like, oh, okay, we need some resiliency that we've not needed.
Well, you see
and
why, like-
you had to have, your group of community that you've been serving has had to have.
Right.
They didn't have the ability and convenience to not have that resilience.
And I can kind of like, again, talking about perspective, I like this topic for it because I came from Boston, living from Boston. If anybody knows about Boston, it's super expensive.
Yeah.
So I came from there, and I used to pay. I had a nice situation for affordable housing out there, because rent out there is $4,000 a month. But I got into a place where it was $1,500, and so I came down here, and it was like $1,300. And shortly after, I was able to buy my house. But if I would have lived here the entire time, my perspective would have been like, oh, it's too expensive.
Sure.
So I think having the knowledge and doing the research is very important to be able to weigh everything and not just like, oh no, it's too expensive. It's, I don't know, like where I get to sit in is really cool because I get to see both sides.
Well, I see why. I mean, you've done a fantastic job here. You've highlighted why the Hispanic community is such a coveted aspect of the market of home buyers and sellers. Mm-hmm. You have the potential for larger than normal down payments, which you've highlighted. Mm-hmm. You have a mindset that is not afraid of 6.5% interest rates because they're accustomed potentially to higher. And a key component you've highlighted is the multi-generational aspect of households, where grandparents, their kids, and maybe their kids are living under the same house and sharing a mortgage payment, which makes that house more affordable.
Exactly.
Those three aspects alone, I would see why this segment of the market is primed to boom. Folks are asking again for that stat that you offered of by, was it 2040?
We were
We
saying,
made the
and I'm gonna pull it up
stats.
right now. It is.
Listen to this stat, folks. This one right here is a very telling stat of where the market could be going.
So it's 48.4% in 2021. It's up 47.5% in 2019, the highest level since the mid-2000s. And it shows that Latinos added a total of 657 new owner households between 2019 and 2021, with the number of Hispanic homeowners reaching 8.8 million. And then the other stat on the 70%. See if I grab it.
Very impressive statistic right here. And this just shows why this aspect of the market is one that should be focused upon, and why Keller Williams has done a good job doing this, and why Anna is fantastic to lead this charge. And she's got partners in place, which we will highlight in future shows, to help lead this charge. And we got to talk about that partnership here in a matter of moments, Nikki.
Well, and I will say, while you're looking that
Yes,
up, just
thank
please
you.
stop me when you find it. So it was amazing being at that first NARAP event, seeing there was all sorts of community there. There were, yes, Ricardo and UVA Credit Union is running this, but there were a plethora of other lenders in the room. And I don't know all of those lenders. Like, I saw Tammy Wilt there, and I know her from forever, right? And there were other lenders in the room. There were all sorts of realtors in the room. This was not a competition of, I'm this particular industry trying to, get this market of people.
Corner the
This was
market.
hey, we are a community, and we need to step up, and we need to help each other, and we need to serve a very underserved community, not only by helping, like you said, the buyers and sellers in that community, but also by educating realtors on, hey, these are things you need to know.
Yeah, I'm going to touch a little bit on that,
Right,
but the data is the Urban Institute projects that by 2040, 70% of the net new homeowner households in the United States will be Latino.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic statistic. Can you highlight some of the lenders locally that you've had success working alongside, or work well within the Hispanic community?
Yes, UVA Credit Union, with Ricardo Cruz Duran and Salvador and Jasmine, awesome team. Another is Maurice Barros, also amazing.
Mo Barros.
Barros.
Mo
yeah.
Barros, he's my boy.
Yes.
I squash with him often. I
Yes.
see him 3 or 4 times a week.
Yes. Yes.
In fact, should I text him right now, Mo Barros?
Yes.
He's my boy. Keep going.
And I also work with Intercoastal Mortgage. They do not currently offer a tax ID program, but I know that Michelle Good is here in the area. I specifically work with Sebastian Rivera, and he lives a little bit more in Fairfax, but he's still an awesome resource, bilingual, and just amazing resource all along.
wonderful, yeah.
So, and there is a list of many more, but I'm happy to share that with you then, or to leave it in the comments as well.
That would be fantastic. So, how this question's come in. How can we potentially help the community grow from outside pockets of Central Virginia to a broader area of Central Virginia home ownership?
Say that one more time.
Yes.
So, I mean, how do we make home ownership approachable for the Hispanic community across all of Central Virginia, and not just certain pockets of Central Virginia? Like right now, it's clustered, a certain bit.
Yeah.
Scott Morris also says we specialize in Spanish as well. Ross Mortgages, Scott Morris is watching the show, and he says that.
I think that continuing education, I think that we need each other. And actually we learn, in one of the shows here, we learned that how will we know who's, like, I didn't realize that you had Latino family or Hispanic background. Like, we won't know unless we communicate and talk to each other. So I really think educating and empowering is going to spread the word. Because when I came here, people didn't know where to go. And they were, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. So somebody actually stepping up and saying, yep, and the way we do that is, I can help Nikki, who helps the next person, who helps the next person. So I think definitely continuing to educate and empower is definitely one of those solutions.
Yeah, and that's huge. Like, this is a very important conversation, because I will tell you, very, very early on in my real estate time, I had a call from a gentleman who his first language was definitely Spanish, and I was trying to communicate with him, and I did not do a great job at it, and I tried, and I think we set up an appointment, and he didn't show up, and it was one of those where I don't think it was the language barriers to not showing up. I think it was the land ended up not being what he needed it to be.
Right.
And so he was like, oh, not now. Yet had he been interested in that land, I'm not sure what I would have done. I would have probably tried to reach out to UVA and to one of their programs and find someone who spoke the language. And now I know I'm better connected. I'm not brand new. I know a plethora of agents who, plethora is actually a huge exaggeration. I'm so sorry. I have a good, small, solid group of people, though, that I know and trust that I could reach out to and be like, hey, you speak Spanish. I have someone I'd love to refer to you. Do you have room and time and opportunity to be able to have a client referral, right?
And I think talking about the very real aspect that this is not easy work. This is not easy work. And for a while it was like this, we got a handhold. We got a handhold because we got to teach, and we got to translate, and we got to figure out where to go, because all of this path is not set out for us. So when I first started, I was calling, I always joke that I called almost all the states trying to figure out where this product was. And there were pockets, like you said, like in Virginia, there was this other self-help credit union had a program that, it was crazy to me. It was like 5% down payment, and the interest rate was 4%, but it was only for the people living in that area. And when I called, it was almost taboo. Like, we couldn't talk about it because this was a protected thing. But again, that work that was done in that area, somebody stepped up, somebody saw the need, and somebody did something about it, got educated, knew who to talk to. And I think that's what, me and Ricardo and everybody at UVA Credit Union, having those conversations, having these conversations here and creating awareness so that we could work together and see what solutions we can come up with.
Scott, who's watching, he's the he's the branch manager for Virginia, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. Scott Morris of Ross Mortgage. So I mean, you're talking a heavy hitter here with significant production. He says that you guys should talk.
Okay,
He
awesome.
says Amanda on his team, who is currently in Chihuahua, Mexico, handles all ITIN and along with Spanish-only clients, and they
Awesome.
provide this service quite often.
Awesome.
So that's fantastic right there. Another option for your contact list there.
Thank you.
This is an interesting topic that's come on the feed here. How do we take the Hispanic community and potentially position investment properties in front of them? Is that a conversation that's been had?
So I was actually talking to her about it. I think that kind of hitting on living with, having a rental and saying, okay, you take this room, you take that room, finding ways to save money. I see in our community that we are already doing this. So for example, I've had clients who say, well, I want to take my money and I don't want to put it down on a brand new house and have this high monthly payment. Instead, I want to buy a house I got to fix up. And they're not afraid to do that. So they are already doing that as something that's like normal for them so that they can build wealth for themselves. So a lot of my clients are that kind of investor, but it's also like they're looking for that first home in that way. Are we willing to do that? Am I willing to do that? I don't know. Like I was not raised in that culture or that. I think there's challenges there when I think about that. But thinking about the community that I service, they're not afraid of that, and they have a different perspective on that.
Well, I feel like two of the questions that have been posed and I don't know from where, and I know it's not intentional, but I do want to use it to touch on something. They were about how do we provide for this community, and those are great ways to phrase the question. But I think that the big thing that I have realized between coffee this morning and this show is it doesn't matter if we provide it or not. This is a community that is going to go after it and find a way. And all it took was having an Anna who was willing to call almost every state and figure out where the programs were. But once that key piece was in place, it doesn't matter if an opportunity is presented. This community is working to make it happen regardless.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I have somebody actually right now that's qualified right under that 200 mark, and you know how hard that is. And so
Right under the Twitter K mark?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they have to rent, and they're like, nope, I'm not spending money on rent. I'm saving my money up so I can, do the down payment. But another option there that I see for them thinking is, well, I could buy a property, under that and fix it up, and that's my house, and that's how they think. It's not.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's easy for them.
And then they build the equity, and then they have something there.
Exactly.
Mo Barros just texted me and says, tell her I said hello. He's watching the program. He's got a hell of a forehand, Mo Barros. I'll throw this to you here. What is, do you think of yourself as a mentor? Have you thought about that?
Oh, yeah.
And is that pressure? And how do you manage that pressure?
Initially, being the only go-to source, and I learned how to manage it better now, but at the beginning it was very overwhelming. I do consider myself a mentor. I think every realtor probably is a mentor, and we have to sit down and go through all the emotions. I do, but I value it a lot. And I want to continue to be able to educate and share my perspective. At first, it was a little intimidating because, they almost a lot of the times they're like, oh, I don't know about credit, I don't know about mortgages, but where I come from, and so you have to kind of break that barrier and kind of get them to see, but it's a tool, get them to see differently, and I like that challenge. I like to be able to educate.
How about managing the youth aspect?
What do you mean?
I mean, we're younger folks. When you're having these conversations that are pretty significant and serious, involving hundreds of thousands of dollars, have you encountered any challenges with, speaking to folks that could be your parents' age about how to manage their wealth?
Yeah, and I like it's different. It's a different dynamic. Usually, folks are coming to me. I'm not pushing myself on people, and so. Usually the relationship or the how the interaction I'm having, it's, they trust me. And you really need to find an advisor, a realtor that you can trust. And I really only want people who trust me because, and if you don't trust your realtor, find a good advisor, a realtor that you can trust, because this process has so many steps, and so it can get complicated, and you really need to have that trusting person. So I really have a good relationship, and I feel like many times I found a new mom. My mom is watching, so Mom, you're my only true mom. But a new mom or a new dad, a new grandpa, a new grandma, and I feel very, very valued.
What are you thinking, Nikki?
I just love this whole conversation. I think it's amazing. I think it's important, and it's neat to see that different perspective, because your world, real estate and otherwise, but especially your real estate business, is very different. Mm-hmm. It is not the same as like a Carrie Griggs who's been on here before, or a Jason Kirby, and there are things that are still the same and true no matter what. And yet there are aspects that are just completely different that you and only a small group of other realtors are familiar with and knowledgeable in. And the fact that you're willing to stand up and not only make sure you have a product for those clients, but also you're making sure, because from my understanding, you and Ricardo have put this NAREP chapter together. And yes, you have people who are stepping up to join, right, but it's been the two of you working your tails off to make a thing that you know how important it is to bring to the community, mm-hmm, and make it exist, while also running a real estate business and having a family and being a mom. And that's not a small feat. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing that you're willing to share and give back in such a huge way. I love it.
What's the goal?
I'm a believer in time and purpose, and so I don't know how long I'm in this for. I know that I was placed here, and the opportunities, like what she's talking about, and I feel very blessed. Sometimes I'm like, wait, how did I end up here? So I feel like yes, a lot of effort and passion and just willingness to help has brought me here, but it's almost effortless, and it feels easy. And so whenever the time has come, like, I'm a believer in purpose. So the purpose is to fulfill my purpose and to continue helping people.
You got Ricardo Duran watching.
Nice.
He's the Hispanic, as we've identified, the Hispanic segment mortgage supervisor at UVA Community Credit Union. He says Anna is awesome to work with. He also has this statistic, which you've highlighted: more than 70% home buyers will be from Hispanic Latinos over the next 20 years. He says, if I was a realtor, I would not be surprised the next offers on your listings will be from Latino home buyers. It is not only correct to help out the Hispanic segment, but it is also strategically correct. Ricardo, you're getting some props on this program, homie. He's come on the I Love CVille Network before. He represented UVA Credit Union extremely well. Here's a question for you. Why do we not, we see an emerging population. We see a marketplace that's booming with Hispanic home buyers and sellers, about to be. Why do we not have more bilingual or Hispanic realtors? How many, can you count on one hand how many we have? Because I track this pretty closely here. There's roughly 1,200 agents in CAR, 1,300 agents. Not all of them are active. Some of them are hobbyist agents. How many bilingual agents can you count?
I think
one hand?
No, not on one hand.
Two hands?
We can get to like four hands.
You can't.
We can. I think I think
get to 20 out of 1,200.
Yes.
So we're talking, that is 1.3% of CAR is bilingual.
Well, but
right.
We're talking about now a matter of this gets into representation matters, right? We just inducted our very first African-American person of color, right? Not just first African-American, but first person of color, period, president of CAR, right? But representation matters. Mm-hmm. When that's a really hard community to break into, whether it's intentional or not, because I will say at this point it's not intentional, and historically it has been very intentional. That's not an easy thing to do.
No.
Mm-hmm. That's part of why, Anna being who she is and how she is with this purpose and vision and voice, it matters so much.
Ask Lisa Herndon, congratulations on being inducted president of CAR. You said maybe 20 realtors in CAR are bilingual.
And that's me digging. So sometimes I'm like, I find like, if I think I was doing it for the event back in October. I think that the difficult aspect makes some people step back, and maybe they're bilingual. Like maybe there's a lot more in there, but they're not coming out, and I'm not calling them out to do so because it's not for everybody. It's not everybody's cup of tea. And
this is hard business. I mean, the payday is you're talking about a 90-day pay cycle in a lot of circumstances here.
Right.
And they're grinding.
Right.
This is not for everybody.
Right, exactly.
And the agents, I mean, how long does it take before you start making money when you get in this
depends.
business?
It truly depends. And if you don't have a lot of training and all of that, I would, just from a business standpoint, I would say you need to give yourself 2 years, not because you can't make money, but any money you make in that first 2 years, you probably need to pop back into your business.
Into the business.
Really?
Right.
Unless you've got some sort of an accelerated training program, which is part of my desire for training and it to be better. And I mean, I've talked about it before. It's easier to get it's harder to get a license for cosmetology. And in a lot of ways, like, I get it. I don't think it should be easier to get that license. I just think that there's not enough around the structure of real estate licensing.
Yeah.
And the only answers I've ever heard proposed have been to require a bachelor's degree, and that is not the answer. That's not really going to help make the real estate application process better.
I agree with that. What do you make of those comments? I agree with that.
I think we have to grow a little more, and at least why there's not that many of us. It definitely is because we have to grow, and so where in my career I had to kind of pave my own path to just focus on everybody that was coming to me, and not be tempted to be like, well, I just want a regular client, because there was a lot that it wasn't paved. There was no resources. I would go and nobody knew about this. So I still think we need to grow and that we need more resources. There's a lot that needs to happen as well with the contracts, like the verbiage, so that it could also be in Spanish. That's not. There's a lot there to navigate, and so I don't think it's very attractive.
Are the car and VAR contracts bilingual?
No.
There is not a.
That's bananas.
No. Also, if you want to get your real estate
Is that
license,
not bananas?
It is.
There is not an
That
option
was like
to
my
take it in
first-
Spanish if you
Yeah.
want to get your real estate license.
That is bananas.
And I do think you need to understand it in English. And
Yeah.
also, when we're talking about
I'm learning so much
statistics,
on this show today.
the
Yeah.
statistics of where our future is headed, it's insane.
We should reiterate this statistic here from Ricardo Duran. More than 70%, and you highlighted this statistic. This statistic blew my mind. And now that I'm like reading this statistic over and over again, I'm
think
just,
about
it's
what
like
that means.
freaking blowing my mind right now. Like it's really resonated now. More than 70% of home buyers will be from the Hispanic Latino community over the next 20 years. Did you hear that statistic, Judah? More than 70% of home buyers will be from the Hispanic and Latino community over the next 20 years.
Yeah.
That's
And-
mind-blowing.
Can I hop on a high horse real quick? No, I don't know that it's a soapbox. That's what I meant. I don't want a high horse. That's hard to fall off.
We all are going to
Done
be
that
in business
before.
here in the next 20 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
oh, absolutely. Yes, I will be. All of us, totally. So put that into perspective of, let's just look at like 2020 when a lot of things around fair housing and a lot of conversations were being had. And a lot of people in this industry were struggling with the reality of what fair housing means and how that means we need to grow as human beings and as realtors. And if that's a struggle, if that's something that you're still not educating yourself and willing to grow in, if diversity, equity, and inclusion are words that you have a hard time hearing, you may want to consider your future, like truly, because real estate may not be the industry for you if those 3 words make you cringe inside and not go, oh, you know what? Yes, there's more room for education. There's room for growth. We can do better as a community, as like a nation, because our history has required all of this growth. And we've come a long way, and there's still a long way to go, which is
Exactly.
very evident by not having contracts in other languages.
Exactly.
Especially when that statistic, 70%,
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
How about this for Anna from Ricardo? We have had a lot of interest about opening a new chapter of NAHREP that covers Central Virginia. NAHREP, which is the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate professionals. Is a place where you can connect, partner, join, and advocate to make an impact on policy. You mentioned 20 real estate agents in CAR, which is the Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors. We need to partner together to make an impact. If we don't, then we will not be able to make an impact. So basically what Ricardo is saying here, that the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals needs to use the power of group and maybe lobbying and the power of economies of scale and collective bargaining to utilize its influence to make buying and selling of real estate more approachable and tangible for the Hispanic community. It boggles my mind that these contracts that are stock contracts that can be put together by professionals well in advance are not in Spanish. This is boilerplate language where certain segments, I've seen the contracts and utilized them,
Right.
are literally filled out where the rest is boilerplate.
Right.
You put in names, you put in some contingencies, you put in some price points, other aspects to it here. Does that not boggle your mind?
It did. It was my first question, and I did my research, and I called, and I said, is there any way I could get it in another language? And the answer was no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Well, because not having representation.
So
Right?
what did you walk us through that first time? What did you do?
Well, I was with Candace, and we were what I had to do.
Go to a lawyer?
We did not go to a lawyer. We called directly for the contracts. It's where they make the contracts. And so what I had to do to protect myself is create a form saying that
'Cause that's
I'm
your
not
tail
gonna-
in
I'm
that
not
scenario.
not gonna get in trouble sued
Right.
for translating this wrong to you, and they have to sign that. But yeah, they have reasons why this is not in place yet.
What were the reasons?
I think that it's still can be misinterpreted. And
Language translation, though?
I know, but
So can the contract in English. I mean, people misunderstand that all the time, all day, every day.
Yeah.
It's truly.
yeah, it's an issue.
But yeah, okay, I mean, I do a ton of contracts here. It's boilerplate stuff,
I know.
right? That's what you were thinking, right?
Yeah.
James Watson, awesome show. You've got some superstars dropping knowledge on the program this morning. Thank you, James Watson, for watching the program. My mind is being boggled literally today on the show. It's like I do so many of these shows that I'm just kind of like accustomed to what to expect, and I'm like, this is what's going to come next. This is what's going to come next. Today's show has completely taken me aback.
And actually, what you have to, at that point, if you're starting, you're just like, well, this is what it is. I need to do what I came to do, and I can't get stuck on this right now and fight that when I'm just starting. So I think I just kind of, was like, okay, this is what it is. I got to keep going. So.
Well, I wonder if part of their concern is people who don't speak Spanish using the Spanish contracts with Spanish-speaking clients, and that's, come on, be better realtors.
Yeah.
Truly.
Well, I mean, if I'm watching this program, this is what I would do if I'm watching this program. I think you're in the driver's seat to capture some serious market share because you highlighted 20 agents out of 1,200 that are bilingual on CAR. And Ricardo just highlighted the fact that in the next 20 years, 70% of home buyers will be Hispanic Latinos. So you're in a driver's seat. An attorney who specializes in closings that's bilingual and can translate contracts. Do we have one of those?
We do.
Can you rattle those off?
I use, they're over in Fairfax as well. And
In Northern Virginia?
Yeah.
There's not one in Central Virginia?
Maryland. Actually, Ricardo, can you include the
Are you
name of
hearing
the
this?
closers that you use, Ricardo? I don't know if he can hear me.
He's
has
watching
one.
you.
He has one. He has one that he uses, and they're closer. But usually we end up using remote, and we have to go to Fairfax and Maryland to have those. And if not, it's me and Ricardo translating in the room.
This is just boggling my mind. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions, and they're going to an attorney in another state.
Yep.
Hold on.
Did you hear that?
Oh, well, for some of it, yeah. Not
Yeah,
just I was like,
yeah.
hold on, Alexandria is
Yeah.
still in Virginia. No.
Yeah.
You said Maryland, right? And
You said-
Fairfax?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because of
Or-
the area,
sorry,
they,
yeah.
they service Virginia as well. Yeah, it's in Maryland, though. Yeah,
Oh,
they can
okay, so
service
that whole-
Virginia.
Oh,
yeah.
but they serve the entire.
Yeah.
Oh man, and that happens a lot in those areas. I mean,
And that's where it's at. Well, actually, like
license offer,
when I was doing the research, the areas where tax ID and these programs are is, California. We're looking at Florida. We're looking at New York. We're looking at North Carolina. We're looking at Maryland, Washington. Those are the pockets kind of that you're talking about that a lot of Latinos and Hispanics are. So these
course.
services are out there.
Yeah.
See, I'm learning so much on the show. He highlights, this is fantastic. I learn on the show a lot. Today is a monumental learning experience for me after doing all these shows so often. VS Title is bilingual, he
Yes.
says. Courtesy Title is bilingual.
Okay.
How about home inspectors?
We don't have any.
No bilingual home inspectors?
I use Brian Jensen. And
I love Brian Jensen, friend of the
he's awesome.
program.
Yeah.
Whole Jensen
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And
Love 'em.
he's married to his wife.
Jamie, she's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Known those folks for 25 years.
So he knows a little bit, but I'm his translator.
How about appraisers?
No.
Okay, we gotta to have some conversations with Woody around this.
The
Totally.
entire supply
Yeah.
chain. What is going on
Yeah.
here?
We definitely, growth.
So you have 20 bilingual that you can think of, 20 bilingual agents in car.
Correct.
You have an attorney that you utilize in Fairfax and another one in Maryland.
Yep.
We got two
me get that
title
for you.
companies, VS Title and Courtesy Title, that are bilingual.
And let me say, we're talking about bilingual English and Spanish, because it just hit me like when we were saying this, I was like, oh, but that person speaks this and this. And I was like, nope, not part of that conversation. So if anyone else's brain rabbit trails like that, we're specifically talking about Spanish speaking.
Yeah. And also, so the one up in Maryland area is Courtesy Title.
Yeah,
Use
Courtesy
that.
Title, he highlighted, and VS Title. Where's VS Title, Ricardo, located? Courtesy Title, Anna just highlighted, is in Maryland. Vanessa Parkhill's watching in Earlysville. She says maybe because the laws codes are written in English, and therefore there is concern that the translation might not exactly match up legally. Is that the concern
Yeah.
she's asking?
Yeah, they said it's too many, there's too many moving pieces to just translate it, and that's it. It can't just be translated, is what.
Does there need to be, is there, you said there's not even a bilingual school for agents to get their license?
So I don't know about that part. I do know when you take the actual licensing test, it is in English. And while I get that, I don't
You
know.
need to know
there's-
English,
it would- yeah, and I understand that. I do think that there is room for options that include both languages.
Right.
Definitely. If 70% of the buyer pool is going to be Hispanic, my mind is being blown over. I mean, literally blown. He says VS Title covers Charlottesville, Harrisonburg, and Augusta. So that's Ricardo on LinkedIn over here. The feed is blowing up. Can you guys tell that my mind is, I'm rarely like this, just from do this so much, I see where the conversation's going, not today. So why wouldn't we have to start at the school point first? Wouldn't that be the starting point?
It should, yes.
Because that's the first stage, right? This is how you become a real estate professional, and you go to a school and you learn from another real estate professional who's able to teach you in Spanish.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then once you get that knowledge in Spanish, that would mean more Spanish realtors.
Exactly.
And more Spanish realtors would mean the rest of the supply chain grows from a Spanish-speaking standpoint.
Exactly.
So why isn't there an entrepreneur out there that starts a Spanish-speaking school for real estate?
So
Jesus,
Anna,
that's a
we need to
gold
talk about
mine.
your future and business growth later. Definitely have like a consult.
That's an effing gold mine, ladies and gentlemen watching this program. How much do you charge? How much you get charged to go to the schools?
So that varies.
Yeah.
That varies greatly, truly. Some of them are very, very inexpensive and only online. Some of them are a little more expensive and have
What's
all
the
sorts
one
of-
everyone goes to that I'm,
the CE shop?
That-
No, that's
that's-
the online version though.
yeah, the in-person one.
Mostly?
Yeah.
The most.
Yeah, that's the
So I
one.
should know how much that is. I don't know.
That's-
we offer one at no cost that's online now, so I don't remember the
I did the
Mostly
online
version.
one, and it was like, I did the online one
Yeah.
with people in the office as well, but I paid like $300 something.
And it can be more,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
That's a business. Is that not a business?
Yes, it is. It's-
Have
And
you?
we need it.
Would you ever consider launching something like that?
I'm like, I have so much on my plate.
I mean, you and Ricardo could do this and make a killing. Ricardo, I know you're watching over here. This is a gold mine waiting to happen for
This
you
is
here,
where
pal.
you leverage and you grow people up.
Yeah,
and They can
exactly.
take on the things
I mean,
that
you
you're
could
doing
build a
now so that
team
you can grow
out
and
of
focus
this.
on the growth. Yeah.
It's just an idea here. This is one only have a
I'll
microphone.
come back in
Love
5 years.
Well, hopefully
like,
before 5 years, but also definitely somebody put it on the calendar 5 years from today.
I mean, I
and
see-
We're going to see what's going on and what Anna's doing.
I know.
As an entrepreneur, I see opportunities everywhere, and this is one of the best opportunities I've seen since the 15 years I've been self-employed. You got 70% of the market of home buyers Hispanic, and you got
That's
no
that first
supply
time,
chain of
right?
Hispanic.
Yeah.
That's bananas.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? I'm at a loss for words. It's rare for me.
And the people, there are companies taking advantage of it right now, and it's not, and that's why you need representation, because there are some things out there that are not so nice to our community.
What, you're saying they're overcharging?
Yes.
Yeah, because they have captured market share, or because they're the
Yeah.
only person on the supply chain, so they can command whatever dollar they want.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that is unacceptable.
Well, that's going to continue. That's capitalism. That's going to continue until you get more options in the marketplace.
Exactly.
Well, and this is where NAREP and Anna and Ricardo and all of the
Exactly.
people that are, because I will say I was in awe of all the people at that event. They had a form that if you were interested in helping be part of the board, because that's what it takes to get it started, is a commitment level. And I feel like a lot of people were filling out those forms.
Yep.
Unbelievable. This is unbelievable. I love this show. I love everything that happened to the show. Ladies, we're an hour in,
love
and,
it too.
and it's
Oh, wow.
absolutely flown by here.
No, I had no idea that much time.
Crazy.
Anna and Ricardo, start a real estate Spanish-speaking school. Seriously.
Let's see, Ricardo.
There's your $1 million idea right there at no charge. Anna, the show is yours. Anywhere you want to go, any topic you want to cover, as long as you want here.
No, I would just encourage agents to know your value, know your niche, know where you stand, and it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to learn. Do that. And to all of the buyers and sellers out there, make sure that you find someone that you trust, an advisor that can lead you in the right direction, and use them from the first day, because they are there for you. They are there for you. So don't try to cut around them or like come back when it's too late. And that's what I would say.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nikki Chambliss.
This is awesome. I love this. Thank you so much for being our guest today. And I'm sad that Ricardo and Salvador were not able to make it, but I also think that worked out perfect.
Yeah.
Because that this was exactly what today needed to be. And I don't know that we've had another show that has covered this in this way and in this detail. And I've learned so much, just like not just even from the NAREP event and then in between, but even this morning in coffee and on the show, you shared things that I was like, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that hard or that challenging, or that there were these roadblocks in the way, or the lack of Spanish speaking everything. I've learned so much, and I'm glad. And I think it's important that people know more. And I think my hope is that not only will this help grow services and options for the Spanish-speaking community, my hope is that it helps give those who are not part of the Spanish-speaking community or who have never seen that different life a whole different view of, oh, wow, right? This is, you know what, these rates are really not that bad, and the situation is really not that bad.
Exactly.
Because it's not.
Exactly. and as long as you don't have, especially not that bad, as long as you're making products that are not taking advantage, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Yeah.
Yes.
So we need more of those, and that's that should be a whole different session on that. But no, thank you so much for having me.
You were awesome. It was
Happy to
was
be here.
our pleasure. I sincerely mean that. It was sincerely our pleasure. I never respond this way on these shows, and you just absolutely blew my mind. Anna Antigua, guys, Keller Williams Alliance, Nikki Chambliss, Keller Williams Alliance, Judah Wickhauer is our director. This is Real Talk. Keith Smith and Jonas Smith are putting together 2023 business plans. Is he back Wednesday?
Yes,
He's back Wednesday show?
I believe so.
Okay, so Keith Smith back in the
Alright,
saddle on
nice.
Wednesday. You were amazing.
Thank you.
Sincerely mean that.
Thank you.
Absolutely
Thank you so much.
amazing. I Love CVille show is up in an hour and 10 minutes, where I think I might highlight aspects of this show on the I Love CVille show. It was so mind-boggling.
That's awesome.
Thank you kindly for joining us. We'll connect with you guys in about an hour and 9 minutes on the I Love CVille show. So long, everybody. You were amazing. He's going to tell us when the mics are off.
And he doesn't say that to everybody,
No, I
just so you
swear.
know. I've been on enough of these where I know
Most of
he
the
does
time,
not
like,
say that to
I watch
everybody.
I do so many of these shows, I'm like, this is going to happen next. This